Welcome back to the Power of Women in Insurance podcast. Today, I am with truly one of the most inspirational, accommodating, amazing women in the insurance space. And every time we get together, we kind of get a little trouble. So I will say, I don't want to, stir anything up or make anybody really jealous. But Ciara and I have had some fun nights out. We've had some good times at some good conferences. And today I'm excited because we are doing a book breakdown with Ciara Gravier. Hey, Ciara, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to see you. I mean, listen, that weekend in Chicago was one for the books.
It was good. It was good. And I love all the pictures too, because everybody was like, it was just such a great group. We had good food. It was such good conversations. Yeah. It was busy, but honestly, it wasn't too busy. Like, we had such good conversations in the middle of it. And I think that's, to me, that weekend will go down in forever awesomeness in Chicago. And so
it's so fun to do touristy stuff too. And to do it, together with, just this business is so hard. And it's just fun to be with friends that understand it. How hard it is and get to decompress together, right?
And I needed that decompression at that point. I really did. So for the listeners out there, just to let you know, Ciara and I were thinking about going to a conference, and we went to the physical conference, right? So we went to the physical conference, but we kind of along the way decided we just needed a break. I mean, we just kind of needed some time. And so at one point, Ciara reached out and she's like, "Hey, I think we're just going to play hooky and just kind of explore Chicago." And I was like, "Girl, I need that more than I need a conference right now," you know? And that's what we did. We took 3-4 days and we just explored Chicago.
We talk about Wrigley Field all the time. It was such a good experience that day. We had so much fun. That Wrigley Field tour was great. And we talk about it with awesome. Patrick all the time. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I got to meet some new people. I mean, people that I had rubbed elbows with, but I didn't know, right? Yeah. And so then we did, and then we went and we did we did the canal tour in Chicago.
Was so good.
The architecture was phenomenal, and then afterwards we went and we kind of did the Chicago style hot dogs, and so we got to sit down and really talk about family and business and time and just life and just all the fun things. There was such a good mixture, I felt like, that weekend of inspiration, encouragement, life, laughter, but then also just sitting down, talking, food, experiences. We didn't all have to sit around and stare at each other and entertain each other the way you do sometimes, because we were doing things together. And we have certain people that would join us for an hour and then they pop off and they go do something else, so it was kind of fun to have some people kind of pop in and out as well. So, it was
a good time. We definitely gotta do it again.
We do. Somewhere. We do. You name the date and time, and I'll be there. I need another mini vacation with all my peeps. So that would be amazing. Because we were just talking. There's no conferences this year, hardly. There's nothing really going on. As we record, it's January 28, 2025, and there's just not a whole lot of opportunities for people to get together this year at all. Yeah. So we probably need to create them.
We gotta take control and do them ourselves.
We will. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. All right, well, today we are actually talking about something that Ciara and I have talked about for a while that I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to come on and do this with me, because this is a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan is the content behind it. Mm-hmm. He's a business coach with Strategic Coach. And Dr. Benjamin Hardy is a writer. I'm not going to use the word ghost writer because he's definitely 110% present through this whole book. So he's not really a ghost writer, but he's definitely writing it on the tenets of Dan Sullivan. So on the program that Dan Sullivan has. So this book is called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And it's actually a part of, would you call it a series, Ciara? It's kind of a series.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Informally. Yeah, I don't know that they wanted it to be that way. It's not published that way, but it really, they talk about each book in each book. So they do make references. Yeah.
They do. And they kind of say, hey, if you want to get your mind around this concept, go read that book, right?
Yeah.
So I think they kind of created a structure. We'll call it that, a structure. And I'm not going to use a hierarchy because I think they very much all stand alone. Mm-hmm. If you read each one of them, they are very unique, but they do refer to each other. Mm-hmm. And the book itself is a part of a grouping that you start, in general, I think you start with who, not how, which we're going to do a podcast on. We do the Gap and the Gain, which is a great book. I haven't actually read it yet. I'm going to do that here in a little bit as well. That's my next one. And then then, of course, the 10X is easier than 2X. And they're all written on the Dan Sullivan principles with Dr. Benjamin Hardy writing them. So today we're going to be talking about 10X is easier than 2X. I'm sure we'll have some bleed over for the different concepts as well. But 10X is scary. It's terrifying. You look at the cover of the book and I'm just like, oh my gosh, 10 times what I'm already, that's exhausting to me. Why would I even pick up this book, Ciara? Oh my gosh.
Every time I talk to somebody about the book, I'm like, guys, it's not Grant Cardone 10X. Like, we're not, I actually don't like anything Grant Cardone. It's just not my preference. It's not my style. So I'm always the first one to say, like, don't be intimidated or put off. Like, it's not like the, hustle more 10X. No. In fact, it's the opposite.
It is.
So I love it. It's a very refreshing approach to big dreams. So I love it. Yeah.
So if you could, as we get started, if you could put the book into, say, 2 sentences, which is super hard to do, how would you describe, and I'm totally throwing you under here because we haven't talked about this ahead of time, but as we get started, I want to give people kind of a little bit of a net overview about what the book's about a little bit to kind of hook it, right? Like, why do people want to listen to the rest of the podcast on why this book is so great? What did it do for you, Ciara, in general, if you could put it in a nutshell?
I would say it is if you find yourself in the rat race, not making any progress, this is the book that explains to you why. The world is made to be average, and that's 2X. 2X is full of people, of competition, because nobody will do what it takes to be a little better than average. True. So I felt myself that way. I was just deflated almost, like I just felt like I just couldn't, I'm just doing the same thing every single day and not making any progress. I'm walking on a treadmill, not getting anywhere, and this book helped me realize that, well, my behaviors were 2X. My thought process is 2X. It's in the present. It's not, I didn't have any. Everyone makes big goals for themselves, right? At the beginning of the year.
Right.
Nobody has any systems to check in with them. You're not running your days through the filters of what are you doing to move the needle. So this concept of if you feel like you're stuck, overwhelmed with no strategy, and you're living, it's Groundhog Day every day, this is the book to help you change your mindset about why you're in this position, how unfortunately everyone in our immediate circle probably is in that position.
Yep.
And what to do to get out of it.
Yeah, at least the 80%. At least, I'm going to say at least 80%. I'm going to say almost 95% are in that 2X mentality. I think for me, the book said, how do I put this? It almost like, it feels like it gives you permission to want more. And I think sometimes I sit back and I think, no, I can't do that because I have this to do, or no, I'm going to be exhausted, or no, I don't want to, or whatever. But I think it gives you permission to think forward 5, 10, 15 years. What do I want? How do I want to run a business? What type of lifestyle do I want? Where do I want to go? Because 2X to me is like this year, maybe next year, it's very short term in my mind. Even though I don't think a year is short term, but it is a shorter term in general. But I think this says, what do I want and how can I get there? And then here's the deal. It gives me that inspiration to say, not even that, but what do I want beyond that? Like, can I make it bigger? And we're going to get into this, but I think that one of the biggest tenets of the book for me is take what you want and then 10X it. Because no matter what you do, even if you 2X, and I know he kind of starts off the book this way, but if you 2X something, right? Even if you achieve it, right, you usually are not going to get as far as if you dream 10, 20, 30 times larger, because then if you work towards that 10 times, 20 times more, then you're at least going to get maybe 3 times, 5 times more, right? So you're still going to accomplish more. And I think for me to sit back and realize that whenever I do 2X, I usually only get like maybe 1.3 to 1.5. I never thought of it that way. I used to think 2X was playing big. I thought I was playing with the big boys, but then I thought, oh, well, what if I 10X and I deliver at 3? I'm like, oh, well, that's even better than 2X and 1.3 or 1.5. And I don't know. I think for me, it just changed my mentality. It changed my thought process of, are you doing what's comfortable or are you doing what's right? Are you doing what's needed to get you where you got to go? And I think for me, that was the biggest thing of the book. It was just a really good mind shift for me.
I think that concept too, exactly how you started it too, how you said the permission to dream bigger or want more. I think just we're so comfortable in our lives in what we've built because it's good, right?
Yeah.
But even just the pressures of the people around you, society, like you're almost chastised if you want more, or you know, so that he talks about the power of it's okay to outdream the people around you, and it's okay that you want more, and you might be mocked, they might make fun of you, you might have, it's like, you know, if you're a smoker and you want to quit smoking, sometimes you have to change your friend group to quit
sometimes
smoking.
you have to change where you go. Maybe you're not going to be hanging out at smoky restaurants or bars or places that are the people that you're hanging out with, right? Or, you know, you need to change your lifestyle, you know, pick up exercising more, or pick up other things. You want more.
If you
right,
want
and
more,
you have to do what it takes to get it. Right, exactly.
Do what it takes. So a lot of people want, and they don't want to. They don't either know how to do the do part or don't want to. But the concept of even how he talks about how him and Babs, like, you know, schedule. They have this. It's an absurd amount of time off, right? That they have.
It's like, what, 180 days, something like that. And he says at the beginning of the year, he starts with putting that on his calendar first. I was like,
right.
My mind just went crazy.
What were we talking about? What were we talking about offline? What you want to do in the next 10 years? Why can't you?
Right.
You absolutely can.
I think we sit back and we think we always have to be available. We always have to be present. We always have to be driving, but we drive small. I mean, Correct. It's not like our driving is big. It's like our driving is small. And I don't know if it's because it maybe just because it's the insurance industry and we're on the agency side. So I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. We are agency owners. Ciara has and I forgot this. I'm so sorry. Ciara has a great agency down in Florida. She is non-standard commercial. So it's very different because it's just a different market, all E&S, all very different. Whereas I'm in Texas, very different from other places, but I do home and auto. We've branched out into commercial. We're also doing group health. And we're also in 2 different locations. So we've diversified differently. So everybody has that feel for their agency, their different concept. But I think that whenever we're business owners, we play safe sometimes because the fact that we think, we have to protect this baby that we've grown. And so I think in my mind, I've been really, really focused on calculated risks. So I try to think of the positives and negatives, but I don't think bigger. I think about the calculated risks of each moment or each decision, but I don't think I take that and then exponentially increase the capability of what I'm thinking to where then I could do the positives and negatives of that, because I don't think my thinking is big enough. I think of it almost like I'm trying to protect an investment, a baby, something that we're growing, like a live thing. You know, does that make sense?
Absolutely. But even just the concept of what we just talked about, like how many days he has off, that sounds absurd, but
it does.
But he intentionally had that as his 10x version for his life with his with his partner, and works it backwards, which I think is what we miss. Like, why shoot babe, what is the 10x version of your life, and then what are the steps you have to do to get there? But it's not just the steps. I think everyone can look, we're all business owners, right? Or if you're a producer, you're in sales, you understand the concept of putting a goal, working it backwards, right? You want to write 100 in revenue. Okay, well then you need to make X amount of calls. You need to write. Okay, we get that, right? But I think what this book highlights is the sacrifices that are involved. So it's like, he doesn't watch TV. He hasn't watched television in I don't know how many years. Because it took his time where he could intentionally focus on doing the work he had to do to get to his 10x goal of his life. And whatever that version was. How many of us are willing to give up television?
That's true.
Right? Like, something so simple like that. And to some, it sounds extreme. But is it extreme when he has 180 days off where he gets to enjoy his life?
Right. And he has a solid financial life. He has a coaching system. He has somebody who's writing books for him. I mean, with him, kind of thing. I mean, and I love how he describes, to be able to get where I want to go, I have to do things that other people aren't going to do. And I have to make changes, and I have to make adjustments. And I'm paraphrasing from like 6 different areas of the book, but to be able to get where I want to go. But if we don't think about where we want to go on that 10x scale, then you're never even going to know where you want to go to even create a goal and a mindset to even get there. And I think he even says in the book to maybe go away, take away your distractions, right? To not listen to the things of your environment when you're doing them. Like, don't let the things in your environment hold you back. And I know that he even had the example in the book about the gentleman who was his architect or something like that, a house that he was building. And this guy was a heavy smoker, and the guy, like, through the whole thing, I think it was like a couple year project and stuff like that. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm quitting. And he goes, well, why haven't you quit yet or whatever? And the guy's like, I don't know, I just can't do that. He's like, no, you have to make, like you said, those changes. You have to make the changes in your lifestyle, in your people you hang around with, the way that you orchestrate, the way that you think about things. And the guy eventually, over the course of time, gave up smoking. He had been a lifelong smoker, and that's a very physical thing to be able to do. But I love that example, because I think we all have addictions, crutches, things that we hold on to. Mindsets, all of it, that we have to be able to step over to be able to be better in our lives.
I think that it's just so powerful for me when he highlights the fact that the current situation we're in, your current situation is different than mine, right? And let's talk business wise, right? You have your 2 locations, your agency's larger, you've done acquisitions, all that stuff, right? But like, is that still your 2X version? Maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Because when I went through this, I thought, I remember, and I've had this conversation with multiple people. Back in the day, you and I actually met through a Facebook group, right? A group of agency owners that I was very, very involved with. You were very, very involved with. That's kind of how we met. Mm-hmm. Well, within that, where in the heck was I going to go with that?
How about this being your 2X version?
Oh, yeah. So with that, I found people that I felt like I could, and I looked up to people, right? And I thought, okay, I would love to do that. And we created a little mastermind group. That group created 50 mastermind groups. We're still going. And I remember when we all first started, we were all around 100, 150 in revenue per year. And I remember we were all like, oh, it would be amazing to make like $300,000 a year in an agency. Oh my gosh, that would just I would be so happy. And we just all thought that was going to be the pinnacle. Now we're all bumping up on $1 million, a little over $1 million, whatever. And it's just amazing. Now we're like, oh, we could go to 3 million. We could do this, and we've never, I can honestly say when we first started back in 2017, 2018, that was not on any of our radars, but we all thought bigger. And now that we've achieved it, parts of it, we're like, oh, we could do more. We could do something bigger. And it's definitely changed my mindset in a lot of different ways. Yeah, because when I first got into all that, no, I thought that if I made $300,000-$400,000 a year, that I would be rolling, and I'd be super happy.
But look at the power. Look at the power of who you surrounded yourself with, right?
Yeah.
So I think that when I read the book, the book is a little bit. It's almost a little bit invasive with how, at least for me, how it made me feel about myself, because it was a mirror. And I was like, wow, Ciara, you're average.
Yeah.
You're average. Your behavior is average. Your schedule's average. You say you want to reach X, but what are you
doing to actually do that?
When he talks about, okay, because everyone does the first part of setting their goals, and every January you've got your new goals and all that stuff, but nobody does the follow-up of checking in where you are with your goals. And the one thing that, first of all, I'll say this is the first book ever that I have read that I actually take action while reading it. Like, I didn't wait.
Nice.
And one of the things was that about your 10X goal, compare it to your schedule this week. What are you doing on your schedule that is helping you achieve your goal? And there was nothing on my schedule that I was doing that was helping me get that goal. And I dropped out of 4 networking groups immediately. I was like, I can't keep wasting my time. There's this concept of we always it's the 2X trap of feeling busy all the time. You're busy, but what are you doing? Is the needle moving? Where is it moving? Is it in the direction you want it to move?
Yeah.
So when I was able to look at my calendar and say, oh man, your time is spent being average.
Yeah.
It's like it hurt. It stung a little bit because I thought I was.
It's very personal.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
Very.
Well, in the book, he specifically says, in order to 10X, you have to get rid of 80% of the things that are not serving you. 80% of the things that you're doing are keeping you where you are keeping you where you are. But if there's only like 15 to 20% of our lives, our whatever it is that we're doing, our jobs, whatever it is that we're doing, that are actually going to propel us forward. So we have to get rid of, they have a great story in here about one of the people who helped to be able to build Keller Williams, and how she had to make certain choices to be able to walk away from clients. I think she was Caldwell Banker or something like that. She was like with another brokerage.
Switch. Yeah, I don't remember where she started, but she made a switch. Yeah.
She made a switch, but she had to walk away from so many listings, from so many this, that, and the other to do something that was scary, but that would give her the freedom to build where she wanted to. And then she built that to a certain size that then she had to bring in people to take over that 80%, whatever, so she could focus on that 20% nut that then brought her to the next 10x level. And one thing that really encouraged me about it was, number one, delegation of your 80%. Like there's 80% of this stuff I just don't need to be doing. I just don't need to be doing it. And then number two, that you can hire people to be able to do that. That's great. I love that. Love that. Because that way your clients and everybody are still getting what they need. They can bond with new people, things like that. But what I also loved was that then she had to change to be able to be that next version of herself. So she almost had to nut down, butterfly it. I hate to put it that way because it's such an overused metaphor in my mind, but cocoon up, figure out what you want to do, and then grow into being more, but also making sure that the people behind you could take over that 80%, because you can't do 100% all the time, because then your 20% becomes that 100%. Then whenever you scale up again, then you have to release 80% of those items. I don't know. For me, that was so liberating because I feel like I level up and I still feel like I need to own the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like then it's another lesson in delegating. It's another lesson in letting go that I have to learn over and over and over again. And I've learned it multiple times. I don't know why the world is so hard for me. Why do I keep on going back to hoarding my stuff?
Yeah, at least you're aware of it, though. At least you're aware of it. But
the book made me aware of it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, it really changed everything for me.
It really is a life-changing book. But that's why they're so good in the trilogy of them together, because the concept of the who, not how, is where that comes into play. You need to find your unique ability to reach your 10x goals, and only do that with your time. And I think for me, I'm going to be honest, if I had to get rid of 80% of what I do, that's my comfort zone. So it's like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's going to be stuff that I don't know. Because if I knew how to do it, or if I was good at it, I would be doing it. True. So it's really hard to let go, because if you were to get rid of all of that, then what are you backfilling your time with? You're filling it with busy work, because that's naturally what we do. It's the 2x hamster wheel. It's designed to be that way.
Girl, you're speaking my language.
It's designed to be that way. It's a trap.
We had this one goal for the year, and I got frustrated with it because it's new for me. I didn't want to take the time to figure it out. It wasn't coming off as well as I wanted it. I'll be very honest. It's video. Video. Girl. I really, really, really want to do video. I do fine on video in general. But I was doing this editing, and it was just taking forever. And it's just one of those things you don't do a lot of. And I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And my goal was 52 videos this year. I think I created like 6, and I just decided I'm tired. No. And I've just like stepped back from it, and I shouldn't do that. But I know that in order to go where I need to go, I have to do that. So now I'm being very convicted as we're sitting here, because I'm going, oh my gosh, I've already by January 28th, like, I'm not going to say given up, because I have the blogs all written. I know what all my topics are. It's the challenge, though. It doesn't feel good. It feels comfortable to not do it. That's what it is. Yeah. It is comfortable to not do it. Yes.
Yeah, it's our natural state of wanting to be comfortable. But I mean, imagine the impact of those 52 videos in 3 years, right? When it's living evergreen online and generating you business, right? That's contributing to your 10x goal. It is. It's the power of not thinking in today, which we all get stuck in the today, is really, it's huge for the 10x picture. And so he does highlight in the book, which is also one of my favorites, of the fact that once you hit your 10x goal, the first one you had, right? Then you have an opportunity, then it's another one. Then it's a different hamster wheel you're on, right? Because it's the one of constantly leveling up, because with each opportunity that you reach, it's other doors open. other doors open. So the realtor experience is one where she was just like selling homes, but she wanted more. And like, it's the concept of like the first hire she made was an executive assistant, which everyone in her circle mocked her and said, what are you doing?
Yep.
You're not busy enough to have an EA. Like, but she was right. Why am I doing low level tasks? Why am I managing listings and appointments? Right? That we just don't think in that mindset naturally.
True.
That's a taught mindset. And so the concept of imagine going through this growth every couple of years, it's literally the best version of yourself that you could be if we all shed that 2x every couple years, right? I mean, I couldn't imagine how powerful it is in life.
So if we talk about the progress of these books, right? So if you start off, ideally, I don't know if they really have an order, but in my mind...
I don't know either. I read 10X first.
Did you read 10X first? Okay, yeah. So I read Who Not How first. Joe Curtis turned me on to that. I think we're going to do a podcast with her later. And Who Not How was amazing because it was all about, like you said, finding your space of genius, finding your place of what you're happy doing, what you love to do, what you're good at, doing more of that, and then delegating off to things that other people are good at, that are there in the scopes of genius, right? That are their spaces, because we're all different people. Mm-hmm. So bring people into your lives, wait for people in your lives, hire people in your lives, look for people in your lives. They can do those things. Just like when he was talking about, he wanted to write books, right? He was like, I don't want to write books. That's not what I want to do. So then Benjamin Hardy and he ended up connecting, and Benjamin Hardy came to him and he goes, you know what? That's exactly what I want to do. And I've been waiting for the right person to come along, and you're here. Mm-hmm. And I love that because it's very good involving the other people around you, not having to micromanage, mm-hmm. letting it all go. And again, giving, Dan Sullivan, the guy with the program, to be able to say, hey, but what do I really want out of my life? He can run this whole program. He could do all this, but he doesn't have to be the one constantly doing it. So then he levels up and he levels up and he levels up. And the Michelangelo, please tell about Michelangelo, because I think it's one of the most beautiful parts of the book, because we look at Michelangelo and his art has transcended generations, hundreds of years. It's everybody knows Michelangelo. Even now, to this day, everybody knows who Michelangelo is in 2025, right? It is a art staple. It is a community staple. It is a staple of our societies, in every society across the entire world this many years later. So tell us a little bit about the Michelangelo story, because I think it's such a beautiful story. Yeah. And the way that he puts it is just gorgeous.
So it's in that's when I knew the book was going to change my life, because it's in the opening. It's like before he even starts,
it's like
right?
The first two chapters. I think, yeah.
He talks about the concept of how Michelangelo started as a young artist and started, took risks, left his house, dropped out of school, did everything against societal norms. And he shouldn't have been where he was around the wealthy. The whole concept of literally doing nothing. I guess he would have been, it's literally the concept of someone that is everywhere where they don't technically they wouldn't belong. Right.
And they didn't do things the way other people told them to do it either. So that was really big.
Right. Like his parents were like, absolutely, you're not going to be an artist. That whole theme of, artists and your parents want you to go to school. Right. And so the concept of it, though, is that with every single project he did, he 10x'd himself. Mm-hmm. He made himself available to take on larger opportunities. He learned, talking about when he was, working on the David, how he got into a morgue somehow and was able to literally dissect human beings. I mean, that's not ideal. Yeah. And the book is like, well, we're not advocating for behavior like this, but his passion and his drive was so big, and he wanted to make the David so accurate that he was willing to do things nobody was willing to do. And so it's wild, because the question that they ask him is, how did you sculpt something like the David so anatomically perfect?
Anatomically, yeah.
So perfect, out of a block of marble. And his answer was just so easy. And it was easy because I just carved away everything that wasn't David. And so the book encourages us to do that with our time. take away everything that is not your David. What is your David what your 10X, right? Because for him it was that. And then if you could even imagine, there was bigger projects outside of the David. But like, what is your David in your life that you want to accomplish? And everything that is not the David, get rid of it.
Carve it away.
I've read this book 3 times and it's still hard to do.
Yeah.
It's still hard to do, to get rid of. And the concept of maybe even it being relationships, maybe even it being, it's difficult. It's difficult, but the idea of focusing your attention on high quality tasks to generate your 10X version of yourself, of your business, of your life, of your family. I mean, if it was easy, there would be more people doing it, right? It's obviously not something that's easy. But to your point of what you said earlier, you know what? If we're all striving for that 10X, and, you know, maybe we're not as rigid or as you know, we're not as strict as Michelangelo was, but what if we landed at 5X? What a great life we'd have of fulfillment.
And still way beyond what we originally would have imagined being able to achieve.
If we just stayed average.
Yeah. And okay, so then say you do 3X the first time you try, right? So say you go, and one of the things that really grabbed me, and I think it's more towards the end of the book, but one of the things he said was, remember, your X doesn't have a time limit on it. Mm-hmm. So if we sit back and we think, oh, I want a 10X, right? Okay, fine. There are some things I agree that, okay, maybe this is a 2-year goal, a 3-year goal, a 5-year goal, right? Whatever, right? And then you might level up again and you might do another 10X, right? So I totally get that. But one of the things we also have to understand is that everything doesn't have to be like a 12-month goal. Like, oh, I need a 10X this year, you know, or whatever. Maybe we need to step back to be able to train our team, to be able to get things done so that we can delegate and push off those 80%. So then we can 10X, you know, maybe it's a 3-year goal, a 5-year goal. Maybe it doesn't even need a date on it. I don't like not putting a date on it, because to me, then how do you know you really have ever achieved it? That's kind of my thing. But at the same point, unless your goal is like 100 times higher, because if you 10, I want to be one of those people that 10X every 2-3 years, whatever. And then I go, okay, now what? And then, because I do believe that as we level up, I think it's a muscle. I think it's like anything, like you go to the gym, right? Like you sit there and you put up your 5-pound weights. You're like, okay, I'm feeling it tomorrow a little bit, right? Then you'll sit and you're like, okay, this isn't doing anything for me. Like do it for like a month, 2 months, you're right, whatever. Okay, now you got to go to 10, right? Then all of a sudden you're bench pressing, whatever, right? But maybe you're running. I mean, I just picked up running again. Shout out to Ciara Kitchens, my daughter. We're actually going to do a 10X or 10K in October, so I'm getting back into running.
I have a 5K on Saturday and I haven't ran once.
Well, come to Dallas. You haven't run yet? You have it on what, Friday?
On Saturday. I haven't run.
On Saturday. You're so funny. I love it. We'll start training for a 10K. It's only 6 miles. So you can do it and come to Dallas. Do it in October. It's totally going to be awesome. It's going to be great. So we're doing that. But the key is that we started off running like 2 miles, right? And so we've been doing the treadmill thing. She has a gym membership. I have a treadmill at home. So we've been doing that, whether the weather's not that great. And now I just started getting out like last week. And so therefore now I'm doing like 3.5 miles. And so I'm okay with that, right? And then I'm going to go to 5 miles or whatever. And then you're going to go to 6. You got to work up to it. You can't just say, and most people don't. Some people do. There's always people out there that go, I did it. But you don't generally just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to go run a marathon, right? You've got to train for it. Some people do. I'm not going to say you don't, but you may hate your life at the end of it and not walk for a week and a half. Yeah. Absolutely. But the people who rock the marathon, the people who do really well, the people who end up at the finish line going, yay! You know, the people who are runners longevity wise, right? They've got to have an eating plan. They've got to have a training plan. They have rest days. They have hill drills, right? They have speed drills. They have a variety of different training. And I think to me that 10X conversation is also a muscle that we have to build the same way. We need to have days that we dream. We need to have days that we rest. We need to have days that we delegate, with days that we inspire our team to be able to be 10X where they need to be. Because unless they're moving up, they're going to be left behind, because you're going to be moving forward, right? So you need to figure out who can you take with you to help with that next exponential leap, right? And if it's people who don't want to leap, fine. Leave them at that first space. That's fine, right? But the people who do want to leap, the people who do want to go with you. But I think we have to understand this 10X concept is a muscle. And once we get to the point where then, okay, we're running a 5K, right? And yay, we mastered that 5K. We made it in whatever time our goal was. Then we get bored a little bit with the 5K.
So I was going to say a couple things about what you're saying. First of all, everything that the marathon example is the perfect example of it, right? Because it is, everyone wants to cross the finish line, but everything that you just said, and I signed up for this 3 months ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to train for it. How important is it for me to do good time on Saturday? Clearly, my behavior shows it's not, right? Let's be serious.
Right. Clearly, it's just across the finish line.
Clearly, I'm just going to enjoy the nice weather and take a stroll by in Miami Beach. That's what I'm doing on Saturday, right? Because it wasn't important for me.
Right.
My actions and my time show it was not important for me. So it's that concept of like everything that you just said, having a meal plan, practicing different drills, getting the right shoes, getting the right everything. Yeah. If it's important for you, you make the time for it. A 2X person doesn't do that.
True.
Right? When it comes to running, I'm 2X. I have no interest in running. I signed up for it because maybe I'll pick up interest in it, right? And then I never even tried. Maybe if I tried, I would have. But that is the concept of this version of like you said, flexing the muscle. And then the actions follow with it, right?
Yeah.
It's also a thing of like, I think as business people, it's always monetary. The goal is always monetary. But guess what? If you get your 54 videos or if you're 52 videos this year, that is more than 10x compared to the videos you've done in the last 10.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I've done videos here and there, but nothing consistent.
If you got 30 videos.
And nothing lasts 3 years. So, right. Yeah.
If you got 30 videos done.
Yeah.
That is huge. You're no longer 10x in the videos. So the Gap in the Game talks about this concept, about measuring your own progress backwards. Because with each notch that you do a little bit of what you say you're going to do, it's a confidence builder. And then you just keep stacking the confidence with yourself.
Yes.
So that's why these books are so good together, because you pick this pie in the sky goal of 10x. And then if you're constantly measuring yourself against it, you're going to be deflated. You're going to feel like crap because you don't reach it. No. You're going to go backwards. So for example, you having that marathon in October, when you finish that marathon and you look back at the year and the sacrifice that you gave it, that feeling is going to make you want to do a half marathon next year, right? It's your next 10x. So also I want to encourage people that read this book because we're business people, it's automatically about money and like that. But what about other things that challenge you?
What about just personal freedom?
Right.
Personal freedom. Like if I want to go and have lunch with somebody, I don't want to have to schedule it 3 weeks in advance.
Correct.
If I want to take a day off, I feel like I should be able to take a day off and not have to feel apologetic for it. Right. I will never forget, and I think I said it on this last podcast or two. I'm a huge Brene Brown fan, huge. And she mentioned one time she works a lot from home. She writes books, whatever, right? Her family, her kids are grown, whatever. Her husband's a pediatrician or something like that. So anyway, she'll be working at home, and she's like, oh, I'm just exhausted. So I'm going to go sit down, watch an hour of TV, right? She sits down. All of a sudden she hears a garage door going up, like her kids are coming home. Somebody's coming home. All of a sudden, this huge weight of shame just landed on her. She turns off the TV, runs to her home office, and acts like she's just busy away as whoever just walks into the house, right? Because we feel ashamed at taking a day off, at resting somehow. And we feel like we have to have this perpetual go, 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 go. I think whenever we 10X and we prioritize what's important, we also have to, like we said, with Dan Sullivan and Babs, they prioritize time off. They prioritize work-life balance. They prioritize coaching and training their team. And whatever. I think whenever you 10X, you have to be so much more intentional because you're going somewhere. You're not just letting things put you places. So I think that by scheduling, by being that intentional, it allows us to actually get there. But then it allows us also to say, I don't have time for that, because I'm going here. And also it says, okay, I need to make sure I train my team because I'm releasing this. So therefore I have to build that into my schedule. It just creates, I think, such an intentionality, like you mentioned, that just like a training program when you're working out, right? Like I know that you and your husband have done weightlifting and things like that. You have to plan your meals. You have to plan your workouts. When are you going to get them? Because we all know that people who want to work out but don't have a time to go to the gym, who don't have a plan, who don't have a whatever it is that motivates you, a workout buddy, whatever it is, right? that is something that keeps people from being able to achieve their goals. And I think we have to express the 10X to our team, whoever it is. If you're in sales and you want to 10X your sales this month or this year, you need to express that to your people, to your managers, to whoever it is. I'm not going to be in the office as much because I'm 10Xing. I'm out there. I'm networking 10 times more. I'm doing this, and be clear. If you are working as part of a team, talk to your team. Talk to the people you work with. Talk to your boss. Talk to your surrounding people, because they need to know what you're doing, because it will be very, very different from what you've done in the past. Because in the past, you're 1X to 2Xing it, right? You're not 10Xing it. You have to be different.
Right. I think that it all comes back to your calendar. Like, exactly what you just said. It's the concept of 10X involves focusing your time and your attention on high impact activities. You need to do more in less time.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you gotta carve out everything that's not your David. So that networking lunch or that weekly networking meeting, if you have a goal to write $200,000 in new business revenue and your referrals from that networking group are paying you $75 a year, what are you doing with your time? Get rid of it. That's what I did.
Yeah.
You like the people. Who cares about the people? Right? That's not getting you to your goal. You have to turn on a little bit of aggression with your goals and your time. If you need to delegate some tasks, right? You need to get certain things. You might enjoy doing it, okay, but is it maximizing your minutes?
Mm-hmm. Or could you do it differently, or could you do it better, or whatever the concept would be. And I don't know what people's goals are, what people's 10X are if they're in sales, if they want to be able to be a better customer service team member, if they want to be able to cross sell more, if they want to do more life sales on top of their whatever it is they're doing, or benefit sales, or whatever it is, right? Or maybe grow into another area, right? Maybe you want to get into financial planning or mortgages to be able to work. I don't know. I know people in this industry who do all sorts of things. They're realtors, they're mortgage brokers. They work in the financial industry. They network in different areas. Maybe they're strictly commercial. Maybe you want to grow into commercial. Maybe you want to grow into, benefits. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. But in order to get there, I think the clarity is super important.
I was just going to say, huge. Clarity is massive, because if you're going to take massive action like this, where you're getting rid of 80% of your tasks and your attention, you better be clear on what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just think, Michelangelo was not clear. So he went out and he got the clarity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important. I would not say go dig up bodies, but don't go be a grave digger. But at the same time, take the opportunities. And the story is with Michelangelo, like you said, he would go and he would dig up bodies, and he would do it in the middle of the night because it was illegal, right? And it was not what he needed to be doing legally, but it was what he had to do to be able to achieve it. And then when he looked at that piece of marble, I'm totally just making a visual here. Okay. This is not in the book, but if you think about it, this is what I think about. I think about him just feeling the marble, running his hands down the marble, and realizing right here, there should be an indentation of a muscle, because right here, and he's seen that muscle, he's seen it, he's experienced it, he touched it, he felt it, he whatever, right? He knew what that was supposed to see and feel, because he went and he got the education he needed to be able to do what he needed to do. Sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to step back, to be able to vision forward, and then to make our life and our business and our dreams and our careers an art. And I think people don't see it that way. They think it's a formula that I have to follow because I bought some program, or my boss tells me I have to have so many drop-ins per month, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. I think sometimes we have to feel it. Sometimes we have to make it ours so it has our unique stamp on it. But I just imagine Michelangelo just really experiencing the art. And I know that you have a graphic design background, and sometimes whenever you're doing stuff, you're like, oh, no, that doesn't look good. I thought that was going to look good. It doesn't look that. And marble's different, right? Because when you do it, you kind of screw it up. But it's you know what I'm talking about, right? You feel it.
I think what we can learn from him, right? Like, we're not going to go to that extreme, but what's impressive is the obsession with learning, right? He wanted to get it so right that he was obsessed with his 10X version.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'm also huge on this. I know that you're getting your designations. I have mine. I think that there's a layer of that piece of like, you want to be the best at whatever, so you could be your 10x version. Great. I encourage it. But also there is a tactical part of whatever you're in, learn, do more, get educated, be the best. You have to do those things. It's not like, it's not pie in the sky, and then, if I dream it, it will cut. No, it involves obsessive behaviors to get to 10x. And
it does.
And I think that's
cutting those things out, the people, right, the avenues, maybe the naysayers. I mean, and I hate to say this, and maybe it's that we don't share certain things with certain people. So say, for example, maybe you have a mother, father, husband, whoever, that if you say, hey, I want to do this, I want to accomplish this in my sales next month, next year, I want this much in sales, whatever. If they sit back and go, oh.
Can you really do it?
Can you really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's really what you want to do? Maybe you just don't share your goals with them. You share them with the people that are on the same train with you. I think sometimes it's not that we need to cut people out of our lives. It's that maybe we just need to not share certain things with them.
In the book, it talks about, it might even be an entire chapter about like your group of people, your associates, who you're around, and how when you start to dream big and you have 10x versions of your life that you envision, when you're around people that are caught up in the 2x, they don't understand and you seem unreasonable. But when you find other people that have 10x goals, guess what? None of your goals are unreasonable. None of them.
Because he says right here, page 33, he says 10x separates the signal from the noise.
Mm-hmm. It is honestly, it is very impactful. Because the majority of us are living 2x versions of ourselves, and we're just robots going through the motions of every day, not even taking time, like you said, to dream about it, to feel it, to think, what does that look like to think of the idea that one day you could live a life if what was important to you was freedom of having 100+ days where you're not working. That is so far off. Even, my gosh, if you think about it, for most Americans, paying off your mortgage is 10x.
Totally. I think most of America doesn't even think that they should pay off their mortgage, and they just refinance every 5 years.
I mean,
or 7 years, whatever, because they just think it's a perpetual conversation. If that's what they want, that's fine. But
the 10x
it doesn't have to be that way.
Correct. The 10x could be something that I think just people even need to give themselves permission to even think that big, right? And I would encourage anybody that's going to read this book. I am a person that reads and listens at the same time, so I can kind of like study it, but for all 3 books, do the audio, because Dr. Hardy interviews Dan Sullivan after every chapter, and the stuff that he gives after each chapter explaining it is gold. It's so good. It's so good.
It is.
But yeah,
I think we also need to realize sometimes when we're 10xing and when we're growing, it's hard. But then, just like everything else, remember that it's going to become easier, right? I mean, I think one of my big hang-ups, and I wanted to make sure we also talked about this too, is that it doesn't always have to be hard. It gets easier as you go. The people around you accept certain things differently, that your team members accept things differently. And one thing I hear all the time in the insurance industry is people want to give back to their community. They want to be a pillar in the community. They want to do this, that, and the other through their chamber, or giving to charities, or doing all these things. But sometimes we don't realize that by 10xing ourselves, and by 10xing our team, and by 10xing the people around us, we are empowering them as well to be able to go on out and do good in the world. If we have team members that are constantly exhausted, constantly working, they're crawling to their desk every day, they're not living their life, how whenever you get them out there in a networking event or in a whatever event, are they doing you and their themselves service? I don't want people around me that are miserable. I want my team miserable. I don't want the people that I network with to be miserable. I'll send them a little something. I'm not a gifty person. That's not my love language, but I'm trying to be better with that. And so I'll send them, a box of Tiff's treats if I know somebody's having a bad day or whatever sometimes. I mean, it's like we level up, they level up. And if they don't want to level up, we can still love them and honor them. But as we level up, other people level up, and then we help other people level up. Like, we're talking about surrounding ourselves by people that are like that, but think about what we can give back to them. We are pouring back into our community in a better way than playing normal by being able to 10x.
And that concept of it talks about it in the Who Not How book, right? About imagine building a company where everyone was doing their unique ability, their 20%. How happy would everyone how happy would everyone show up at work? Because they're doing what they love. They're not forced doing 80% of their job description, or their time is spent doing things that they're not good at, that they don't like to do. So the realtor example is fascinating, because every 10x opportunity she found herself at, she hired the right who's to carry the load of the 80% so she can continue doing her 20. But it's like my concept, right? Like, I already told my virtual employee, hey, I'm not looking to add someone right now, but keep a running list of the things that you like to do, because you were here first and I want to keep you happy, because the next person I bring on is going to take the 80% of the stuff you don't want to do, right? Imagine if you built a team of that. In theory, people are way happier showing up to it.
Well, and people stick with you longer. They're happier. You don't have as much turnover. And you just have people that like being around each other in general, or like doing what they're doing. And you're empowering a happier generation. I don't know. I remember years ago, my husband came in one day, and he's Mr. MBA. You know my husband. He's very Mr. MBA, right? And he's wonderful and he's amazing, but everything runs on a spreadsheet, right? So he's like, your profit margin, da-da-da-da-da. And I just looked at him, I was like, you're exhausting. And he was like, what? I was like, oh, I'm just exhausted right now. And he's like, I don't understand. And I was like, what does this have to do with making my team happy, healthy, and successful, and making the business happy, healthy? Well, this is a spreadsheet that says da-da. And I was like, no. Finally, he looked at me, and I don't know what came across his brain, but he goes, what are your goals? And we had in my mind, we had talked about it 100 times, but maybe he didn't quite accept it the way, because he's in the metals industry. They work differently, right? They have big meetings about spreadsheets and things. And I said, my goal is to be able to have a team that loves their job, that comes to work every day, that loves what they do. We're going to have times, we're in a hard market. There's going to be times we hate what we're doing, but we love what we do, right? In general. And I said, that's what I want, is I want a team that knows that can achieve what they want to achieve, that can get the self-fulfillment out of their careers, that can be who they need to be in front of the clients, who feels empowered through their jobs, protected through their jobs. I don't want them to feel like people get the opportunity to yell at them, scream at them. They're not roadkill the way some customer service, roadkill, service, sales feel at the end of the day. So I want people to be out and about in our community, empowering others. And he just looked at me and he goes, none of that has anything to do with my spreadsheet. And I was like, it doesn't.
Right.
And, I think, and he was like, okay, then we need to change our conversations. And it was really interesting to me, because by that realization, we changed together in our conversations. And I think that as you do that with the people that are on that 10X goals, they're going to ask you questions. You're going to ask them questions. You may empower them. They may empower you. And you're going to push and pull. But together, you're going to be moving up. And you're going to be achieving those goals.
I think that the concept, I heard this a while back ago. Honestly, it might even be from Billy Wagner. He's running such a good shop there of how he runs his teams. And after a certain amount of time with them, like they're very, not this part, but they're very aware of each employee's goals financially. They share that information, because it's the concept of, if you're helping me achieve my goals, I'm going to help you achieve yours, right? Working here. And that concept of the 10X for everyone is so different. And for one of your employees, their 10X life could be the life you're living right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Completely.
So it's the concept of just asking and letting them spend their time doing what they're good at, finding that sauce with the who not how part, and then asking them, right? Like, have you ever thought of your life at 10X? What if they wanted 6 weeks off a year? But they were producing at 90%. What do you care about giving them 6? You'd probably give them 8, right?
Yeah.
It's just having those different conversations. It's having the ability to be able to help other people reach their optimal version and get out of the rat race of just life.
And how awesome to share that with people and to cheer them on.
Right.
To be their cheerleader, how awesome for that.
There's
that
some
when
people that will
you're
never
doing
ever.
somebody runs into your office and goes, oh my gosh, I just blah, blah, blah. how awesome is that? I mean, that would just be amazing.
I mean, if you think about it, like I always go to owning a home. Owning a home is 10x for some people. Mm-hmm. That is their 10x. Having a family, great, right? Like being able to.
Some people it's travel. Some people it's, a certain car. Like some people it's like, oh, when I arrive, mainly men, but some women, they really love like a great Range Rover. I don't know, whatever. We're not really the sports car. Not everybody, but people have dream cars, right? You talk about dream cars. You talk about dream vacations. You talk about, when I arrived, I have a territory manager of mine. She was with Travelers at one point. Now she's not with Travelers anymore, but she used to say that for every team member, every time she had to do whatever that she really didn't want to do, she'd go out and buy herself a new pair of shoes because it gave her something to look forward to after a really challenging thing. I think giving yourself something you really truly want or you earn or whatever based on when you accomplish a goal is huge. And doing that for your team too. Like, hey, we did this together, right? It's not just about me, it's that we did this together.
I agree. And I just think it's such a powerful mind shift, and it's such a power. It's when you start filtering the time that you waste against this filter of, is it helping you get to your 10x goal of whatever it is? The majority of us are not living our lives in accordance to what we say we want. That's a fact.
True.
And it's painful.
And I also he ended the book with give yourself love and grace, right? That if we say, hey, I really want an agency that's $5 million, whatever, right, in revenue, right? If you hit a 30% increase this year, okay, it is what it is. How can I make an 80% increase next year? Give yourself grace, look at the facts, be honest with where you are, and then say, what else do I need to delegate? Maybe you only delegated 30% rather than the 80%, right? And that may have been huge for you.
It's
like
huge.
You're talking, like, again, I have not read The Gap of the Gain, so I need to make sure. But you delegated 30% this year, rah, right? Again, you don't have a time limit on this.
And it's more than you would have had you not changed your mindset. That's the point of it. It's it's this 10x frame of mind is a constant filtering system. It doesn't end.
Yeah.
Because it's and he talks about it in the book, you're going to get opportunities to 10x your life multiple times. It's not one 10x. So like you said, right, your goal is videos. Well, when you hit that this year, it's a 10x. You can check that off, and next year you can do double if you wanted to continue to do it. Correct? Like it's not one time thing in life. In fact, the book encourages it and lets you know you're going to morph into better versions of yourself constantly. Yeah. So it is a thing of constant filtering, constant making decisions based off of that one thing. Yes, I should be doing this. No, I need to be not doing this. I need to be doing more of this. So it is something that is constantly having to be checked, which is where we fall off. Yeah, I have fallen off, right? I haven't gone back to sit and say, did I fill my time up with the 80% again? Yeah, because it's easy.
So easy to do.
Because it feels good. Because I feel busy. Because I feel accomplished. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I did all my tasks today. Yeah, but did any of those tasks get me to my goal?
I think that accountability outside yourself is really important, because sometimes we don't see that we're filling up our day with that 80% that we don't need to be doing. So where do you find that accountability, or where would you try to find that accountability if you're doing this? Like, I have an accountability partner, and we talk about our goals every year and where we're going and how we're doing it. I don't know that it's the intense accountability that he's talking about, though, because I don't know that my accountability partner is in the middle of my stuff enough to know if I'm delegating the 80%, if I'm doing these principles of things. What would you recommend for people? Because honestly, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm asking myself, I'm not trying to pump a program or anything, because I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't have a super intense accountability partner. Lisa and I meet once a quarter to go over our goals and see where and it was fascinating, because last year, in the day-to-day, you feel like you're not moving the needle, you feel like you're not accomplishing things. And last year, at the end of the year, when we met, we were like, man, we did like 4 or 5 things on our list of 8, right? Huge. And then you're just like, man, I can do hard things. I am doing it. But when you don't stop and look back, it's detrimental to your own confidence and to your own ability to grow. So I haven't figured out the person yet where it's like, I don't know what I do great with accountability? Like that. I'm
a little saucy sometimes.
Yeah, I take it personal because I don't like to do what I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for me to let go of the comfort in that. But my good friend Stephen Turnbull did buy me a planner, the High Performance Planner.
Okay.
And that last year gave me a rude awakening.
Okay.
Because every day you're answering questions from the perspective of a high performance coach watching over you. Things like, what is a challenging thing that you need to do today? How are you going to handle it your best self? You're answering a couple questions like that. You're answering what are your top 3 goals for today? What are the tasks that must be done today? And then you're filling in your schedule from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? And then you're evaluating your day at the end of the day in the evening. Did you hit your goals? Were you the best version of yourself? You're rating yourself on a scale from 1 to 5.
Wow. Yeah.
And when you do that every day, you realize the amount of time that you waste. And I actually got upset with myself for a few weeks, and I refused to do it because even that level of accountability with myself, I was just like embarrassed by myself, of my own self, because it's a mirror. When you see, and one of the questions on it is like, what's a big project that even though you can't handle it now, you want it on your radar? And when you write that for 4 months in a row, and you say it's important to you, then what are you doing? Why is it still in this?
If you're not moving towards it, if you're not,
why am I not moving towards it? Because my time is full of crap. My time is full of going to lunch with someone that I can't say no to. Another thing that I've learned recently is no is a complete sentence.
Yes.
I don't need to give someone. So what I've done in this trilogy book of Who Not How, 10X, Gap in the Gain is I've actually taken I'm very protective of my calendar. And like, especially with networking, especially I have the podcast here locally, and there's a lot of people that are like people that I would never have on, honestly, because they're not adding value, or they think they have more value than they do. Like you're not going to be on, or people that want to have some of your time. Lunch, I'm only going to lunch with someone that I already work with. Yeah. That it's a referral partner that I'm deepening, because lunch is 3 hours of your day.
It is. By the time you drive there, you spend time with them, you order the food, you got to drive back, 100%.
3 hours. So the one-off person that's like, oh, Ciara, we need to get together. I want to get to know you. All that stuff. Coffee.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's a 45-minute thing, really early in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? Even that has changed my time being spent where it should be. Yeah. Because we all know there's those people that just want to get on your calendar, and they're never going to grow your business. It's those people, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I was able, be obsessive about your networking groups, right? What you're doing, where you're spending, is it really providing you value? Calculate your time. Not just what you pay to be a part of the group and the referrals you've got. How much time are you investing? Because that matters.
And is it good for your time?
And is it really generating you the amount of business, and is it helping you get to your goal? A weekly networking event for me will not. I cannot commit to something like that, right? I've already established that my time, I cannot spend 3 hours in a networking group every week.
Right.
I just can't do it. So that kind of, and all of that came from analyzing my behaviors, and I don't go out. Tuesdays are my networking days, right? I'm not leaving every single day for a lunch. No, it's disruptive to my day. It's not. It's not letting me be focused on the things that move the needle. True. So it a long answer to your short question, but that book of the high performance calendar that I have to write out my day every day.
I wrote that down. I'm gonna check that out.
It is a mirror. It is a mirror. It is a mirror to see how you're spending your time, and then when you don't reach your goal at the end of the month, go look back at your schedule and you'll know why.
Yeah, you'll know why.
You'll know why.
I love it.
It's tough.
I love it. Well, everybody, definitely check this out.
The best book I've ever read.
I can just guarantee you right now. Number one, Ciara could sit here for hours, period, with or without a book to discuss. But this book, the series, 10X is easier than 2X, Who Not How, The Gap in the Game, the whole thing is wonderful. I know he's written a couple of other books. They've written multiple books together, Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Definitely look them up. There's just so much here we could dive into still. I mean, but definitely take it to heart. Look at the fact, are you thinking big enough? Are you dreaming big enough? Are you doing the things in your area of genius? Are you encountering and empowering your team, the people around you, the people that you network with, the people that you your spouse, your people, right? Just in your life, take it on a very personal level. Are you that 10X partner for the people around you? Because as you grow, they grow, everybody grows. You're going to be around the best people ever, just like Ciara, and we are going to be able to take over the world together. So, Ciara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for giving us the platform for this conversation. It's a really impactful book. Everyone should read it, business owner or not, really. Just in every facet of life, we can 10X ourselves and just be. Imagine, when that day comes where it's over, at least we live the best version of ourselves. Right?
Absolutely. So. Well, Ciara is with the Bunker Insurance out of Florida, so we're very excited to have her today. She does have her own podcast called Bunker Your Risk, and she is phenomenal, and where she talks to lots of different business owners around in the Florida area, and she is just... and people who are not even in the Florida area sometimes. So
if you come and visit me, you're on the podcast.
You're on the podcast. So we love it. But definitely check out Ciara. She's fabulous. The Bunker is her agency out of Florida. And thank you. We've had her on before. Check out the other episodes. Every time it's fire, all the way around. Everywhere is on fire when Ciara's around, because it's just the knowledge is dropping everywhere, and it's just amazing. So
and thank you for continuing to carry this torch in our industry and representing us so well the way you do. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you very much. All right, everybody. Definitely take a look at the book. Definitely check out our other episodes. We are putting out a new episode every single Wednesday, or at least the vast majority, unless I take a week off or so. But we are definitely going to be able to be here for you. We are on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, all the different places, everywhere you go. So definitely take a look and check us out, because we're here to be able to empower women with great information and to be able to highlight their stories, their passions, their projects, and how they are being successful in this industry. Everybody, we'll talk to you next week.